All right. Well, if you happen to be within the sound of our voice, my voice, hello, Mackenzie. You can hear us, I take it? All right. We have race director Darris Blackford with us here. We're going to be talking for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. So if you want to come on over and take a listen, we're going to be talking about all things running, walking, and community. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Hannah. Hello.
And we are the 1 Mile at a Time podcast. If you haven't heard from us or heard of us before, that's because this is now officially our second podcast that we filmed all of 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
So we're thrilled to have Darris here. There is no one in this community that knows the running and walking community better than you. You've been here really since the beginnings of a lot of things that are going on now in the running scene in Columbus. So thrilled to have you here. Thank you for taking out time on definitely the busiest weekend of the year.
Yes.
You've got race day in 2 days, but you know that we're here in the expo for the Columbus Marathon. Can you tell us a little bit about where the inspiration and the the feelings that come behind calling this hour race? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So the Columbus Marathon was put together by the community in the very beginning. In 1980, it was started to be a way to bring people to the city. Their events were in New York and other cities. You can see them celebrate their 50th anniversaries now, so on and so forth. And city leaders said, hey, let's do that in Columbus. That first year, they had 4,000 marathons. It was just a great community event. And then from there, it always has had this level of extra attention on the participants because as some of the board members like to say, we don't have mountains, we don't have beaches. We got to work really hard to get people to come here and also to get our local people to feel inspired.
Sure.
So by having that kind of community attention, and you can look out among the expo or out on the course, volunteers that have been with this event for 45 years.
Yeah, wow.
And runners that have done this thing, if not 5, 10, 15, 40 years. And it's really, that's what we really mean by our race. People say that it started out because I don't really have an ego. And I don't like it when people say, hey, I'm doing your race. Like, it's not my race. It's our race. And I'll be out on the old tangent trail or I'll be running somewhere. And that was the catalyst. Like, no, it's not mine. You're wearing the race shirt. You're doing it. You're a volunteer. It's our collective race. And running and walking in and of itself is kind of it's a niche activity. We're not there's professionals doing it, but we're not the NHL or NBA or whatever. And so having something that we can all do and feel part of, whether you're going to be first or last, you're still part of that same community. I got to run the Chicago Marathon one year when the world record was set. And what was cool about it is you could hear radio reports, you could hear people that they set a world record. And, I was probably, maybe 2/3 of the way through the race, but I was on the same course.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't go on the Super Bowl field during the Super Bowl. You can't go on the World Series. So that community aspect has really been important to us over the years, but it's also been the running community in Columbus has always been high quality. People forget this because maybe they're new to running or walking. They don't really think about it. I mean, we hosted the Olympic trials for men in 1992. People are like, Columbus? Yeah, because this community, somewhere in my notes or my files, I have the actual application, the report that they submitted for the Olympic trials, and it was community people.
Yeah.
And so my first marathon was Columbus in '91, and I joined a local running crew at the time. It was called the Capital City Milers, and it was some small group that got put together, and we trained. And then at the time there was a group called the Columbus Road Runners, which had even an older legacy. And then it just from there, the running continued, people continued to get involved. And then in 2001, some guy named Jeff Glaze came around and decided, hey, I want to kind of capture the energy of our community and provide a way for people to take part in this long distance event. Now, at the time, Jeff had been putting on a lot of races. He'd been actually dozens of 5Ks and 5 milers and so on and so forth. And so when MIT was put together, so I helped name MIT.
Love that.
I don't take credit for things lightly, and the reason we came up with it is we were sitting around like, what are we gonna do to like get people draw some attention? And MIT is like,
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
you went to MIT?
Exactly. And we
Look at
like,
that.
oh, people love saying they were part.
Yeah.
And it just worked. So from there, it was Jeff and 4 coaches,
Yep.
and we had 40 people that first year. But it really became a spark for people to people ran and trained. But you usually trained with other friends,
Right.
maybe your parents got you into it. It wasn't something you could turn to. And again, people that are like in college or high school, they have coaches, they have teams. But by and large, most people don't start that way.
Yeah.
And then because of that, they don't really have that group that they can turn to. But then once you had these coaches, which we just happen to have done more running than that. We didn't really have any professional experience except we just done a lot of races. And then from there, it just became a spark that just took off. And you see it today with MIT, with all the other trainers, which we can talk about. People see them. I just saw something the other day. Someone said, and actually, I think you responded here. It was on Facebook. Some woman said, "Hey, I'm here running in Columbus, and I saw this group down in Whetstone Park. What's that all about?" And people see it, and then they identify it. And I can say it to you guys that the part of the allure is playing to people's inner Ann Arbor, there you go, making them feel good about themselves.
Yes.
Making them feel part of a community, which is really, there's not a community of NBA fans.
Right.
There's not a community, because you can't go and join the NBA. But you can be a participant in this community. I tell people, I used to work in marketing for Harley Davidson dealerships, and it's the same community.
Yeah.
I tell people that if this was an expo and they were quilters, they would be hardcore quilters. They have all the
Yes.
quilters. Yep. So what the whole point is, it's having that group, that community with someone, you can count on people. It also really keeps you inspired to go. And there's many Saturdays with MIT where I didn't want to go.
Oh yeah.
I knew people were going to be there. Might as well go with them.
Yep.
And so, it's all.
They're gonna ask where you are if you don't show up.
Exactly. So I don't even know if you asked me a question, but I just went off on a
I love
I
it.
think
It's
you
great.
went.
Covered.
You hit it.
Mhm.
I actually I overlooked this event in my life, which was the '92 Olympic trials. I was there with my high school actually in '92. No, I apologize. I was with my brother's high school cross country team. I was in 8th grade. He was a senior, and we were volunteering at the '92 trials. I still have the correction. My dad still has a jacket. He wore it here to the expo last year.
Oh.
That's my jacket. I'm never going to get that jacket back, which is really sad. But fun aside about the '92 Olympic trials, but I know you.
No, I think it's great, talking about the evolution of not only this race, but also of our community and of, these incredible leaders that started because, maybe ego to help others feel better about themselves and us feel better about ourselves, but then it becomes something so much more. And the rippling impact that doing something in community has, especially when you make it so meaningful. So I want to hear about those beginnings of the Columbus Marathon. Like when did a little bit of the history of the partnership with the hospital, and I want to know, how did that came about and what it meant then and what it means now.
Sure. So Columbus Marathon was going on its merry way, doing its thing. 2006, the half marathon was added. There had been a relay actually at some point before. So there's been different elements to it.
Yeah.
But the charitable end of it was somewhat focused, directed by charitable groups like Team and Training,
Right.
like Leukemia Society, like Ronald McDonald House. These different charitable groups would actually have people sign up. I think Team and Training, you could actually earn your entry by raising certain amounts of money. And then they would basically run the race, fundraise, and the money would go to those different groups. So we even did one for charity newsies. We have different organizations that were raising money on behalf of the charities. And that was great, but we didn't organize it. We supported them. And I remember back in my early days of being involved, I remember our website had like 5 or 6 different charities that were kind of sanctioned or recommended by us. So then, and that's great, but there's only so you're dependent upon those groups and leaders of those groups to drive those things forward.
Right.
So in 2011, the end of, I remember I was at the Philadelphia Marathon. I was actually pacing the Cliff Bar, and I was on the phone with our board chairman at the time, Bill Burns, and he was saying nationwide, the nationwide insurance would like they've supported the race since 1980, but they want to see their support leveraged in some way, help the hospital. So I remember Bill and I were on the phone. They were actually going through the agreement. We were talking things out, and they couldn't figure out how to make it a fundraising element with an event that already existed. So 30th year, unlike Peloton, which started that way.
Right.
You can't
Right.
really ask people in year 31,
Yeah.
fundraiser, you can't do the race. So I remember us talking, it's like, well, why don't we just have the participants do fundraising? Sponsors can still sponsor miles and whatnot, but then we can figure out revenue from that one. And that was really the catalyst for it. So
Wow.
in 2012, the partnership started, and we didn't really know what we were doing. And I say that from my standpoint, but we were all learning. How can we make this thing something real? And the magic came when the hospital got involved and designated kids as mile champions. I mean, give me a break. There's no better way to get people compelled than knowing they're doing it for kids. And with that, our very first champion, a girl named Allie Heil. I remember we had a press conference, and she was introduced, and her mom is on the board. Jill Heil was with Nationwide, and it just was such a cool thing. And you saw kind of, this is going to become something. And then from there, it just that first year, I believe we might have raised $1 million that first year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we just continued to see that. We've averaged more than $1 million a year.
Wow.
What I'm really proud of, though, is since it's 14 plus million, it'll be 15 after this year in 14 years. But what I'm really proud of is the Marathon Board has donated every year at least $100,000. So it's 14. So 10% of the money, 1.4 million, has been from the Marathon Board, and that's because they're a really good board about financial or fiscal responsibility, conservative. We work hard. We don't get a lot of outside money. We get some money. White Castle helps us so we can pay for the kids' entries. We have a few other sponsors give us some dollars, but we're not really dependent on it. We need things like Gatorade gives us all their stuff, and others in-kind sponsorship. But that allows us to put the event out with registration fees. But because of that, by being fiscally responsible, we work hard to keep the costs as low as we can. And then the board can basically make that donation each year. So that total of 14 million plus 15 after this year is just it's such a heartfelt thing because you see it going to work, saving kids' lives. But what I really think that this partnership has done is take the finances out of it. For us, it makes our event a real community event. I'll be honest, people used to hate this event. 50%, we were politicians. 50% of people love this, 50% hate this. I used to get this call, I'm sure she's passed by now. This woman, she was probably in her 80s or 90s then, when we would go through Upper Arlington. And we changed the course a couple of years earlier. She would call me, leave a voicemail, and say, this is so-and-so, and just calling about the marathon course is not coming up Fishinger. I said, we haven't been on Fishinger in 4 years. Well, make sure it doesn't come back. I'd call her every year, and she'd yell at me every year.
Oh my
God. But all of a sudden that went away.
Right.
Because it's really kind of hard to get upset about sick kids.
Right.
And knowing the good we're doing, and it made the event real in the eyes of the community that don't even run or walk. They're like, wow, you guys are doing great work for Children's Hospital. And because of that, it now adds legitimacy to all the work of the runners and walkers. They're not seen as some kind of selfish, weird runners and walkers.
Yeah.
They're seen as people that are contributing to the goodness of our community.
Yes. It's amazing.
So we were talking to Andrew Buckmichael earlier, weathering the run, and he mentioned, the number of miles that are in this route right now, just from this training season alone. And of course, because I like stats and such, I started doing the math on it. It's over 8 million miles that your participants would have logged just in the training for this weekend.
Wow. That's pretty overwhelming.
Well, it's overwhelming, but think of the community impact that has. Because now, do all of those folks training this, are all their neighbors running it? Of course not.
Right.
But maybe did they inspire one to come out and step out that door? So I'd like to use that as a bit of a transition. So, at least here in Central Ohio, and I know across the country, the training groups have always been this kind of very store-centric thing. But in recent years, we've seen a massive influx of community-run run clubs, walk clubs, you name it, that is really like bringing such I don't know, maybe in my eyes, it's like more of a holistic view of our community when you look at these run clubs, how they're organically built and sustainable because they're community run. How is that being a member of the Columbus running community and as the race director of the marathon? What sort of impact do you feel that is making here in Central Ohio?
Well, first, I want to credit Fleet Feet. I want to credit Columbus Ride Company. I want to credit Second Soul for that idea around the locations. MIT is different because it actually moves around, but that still has what sparked a lot of the running clubs because they're geographically focused. But you gave people an idea that, hey, I could put together a team or a club in Grove City or pick a part of town because MIT ran up in this west, whatever. And my point is, by your moving it around, it kind of gave people, hey, I can do something in my neighborhood.
Right.
And it became a factor of ease. People tend to want to stay closer to home if they can, especially running. I mean, running is one of those things you can literally walk out your door. So by your kind of giving that catalyst and the idea of, hey, we can start something in our neighborhood. People also, there's neighborhood running involved.
Yeah.
You meet your neighbors. We all know someone that we see in our neighborhood or down the street who's a runner, and so we end up talking to them. We pass them by, or we pass them on the trail. So then we kind of, hey, we should, let's run together sometime. It's just that kind of thing. I think that's where those local clubs can come from. But for our event, we've worked really hard in the past several years. I've made it kind of a mission to embrace those clubs, to make them feel inclusive in this community. And we have a different place. We have an advantage over retails or neighborhood organizations, anything like that, cities. We're kind of Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really have any stake in anybody's game. We just want people to enjoy the event. And it really, so by us supporting, I found our website, I was sitting there, 20 different clubs that we just encourage them all. I try to go out and I've tried over the years to run and walk with those different clubs because to specify or to really make them feel recognized, make them feel that they're doing good. And it's really neat to see what's been happening. But again, it goes back to the same time, it's wonderful the work that the retail community does to support these clubs because they're mostly volunteer people. They don't have a budget. So you guys make things accessible. You may bring out some shoes to a run, or one of the brands sponsors something that they otherwise they don't have the connections in that. So it's kind of this symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely.
Of making people feel recognized, but also giving them kind of an elevated experience that they wouldn't have on their own.
Yeah. And thinking about, I've just been coming back to this idea of communities coming together and how when we do this thing all in community together, like what impact does it have? Like you mentioned this earlier, and I've been stuck on this. Like you get out the door, you run, and who is seeing that? Is it your kids? Is it your parents? Is it your best friend? And how those relationships, when you are in community and when there is such a wide community, right? We talked about there's retail focused one. There's MIT, which is, more formal training. There are, German Village Run Club is one of the most incredible run clubs in the city right now, and it's inclusive, and the community is passionate about being together. And I think one of the best things that comes out of that is encouraging people to just get out and move with your neighborhood run club. Get to know your neighbors. I think in this day and age, it's so important to really be involved in your community and take care of one another. And running multiple times a week, it gets you involved in people's lives because you're out there for hours, right? You're talking about your kids, you're talking about your life, you're talking about, that terrible conversation you had at work, right? And commiserating and celebrating. And there is just so much that happens out in those miles. And so I guess, what would you say to somebody who is just coming into this for the first time? Like, how would you tell them that this is going to change your life every mile that you do? Like 1 mile at a time, this is going to, have this rippling impact. How would you convey that message to them?
It's the hardest first step, and I don't mean the physical part, because going out for a look or a walk, if you've never done it before, you could go find a nice quiet place. You could try it. You can do the step. Hey, we've all learned to walk as children. We all learned to run away from whatever it's that I know it's hard for people, but if you could just reach out and say hello to one person. I go to these, I try to do this at running groups and running clubs. And again, I've been a member of MIT. I was a coach. I joined again this year. And I just enjoy being part of it. But I'll see people like at the big room, and there'll be people that they're I can tell they're standoffish. They don't kind of know what's going on. They got to take that. They got to be brave enough to take that one step, because it will change their life. It's hard for people to reach out to everybody that's staring as a wallflower. But if the wallflowers will just say one word of hello, what pace you're running, or just join the group, and there's plenty of people that are talking.
Yes.
If you join the pace group, you're going to listen and then offer a comment.
Right.
And
right.
and all of a sudden you're in.
Yes.
And that's it. And by doing that, it will just, oh my gosh. I mean, the life-changing, not just physically, your physical health and wellness, but your mental, emotional well-being, making friends. I mean, look, it is lifelong friends. I am still to this day friends with people I've met through these clubs.
Yes.
And through just being out there on the trail. And so that's that, but that's a hard step.
Yes, it is.
People are introverts should apply.
Yes.
It's
I agree.
hard,
Uh-huh.
but just make it your goal. Today, I'm going to say hello to somebody.
Say
It
hello.
will work.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so we've started a little tradition. This is our second episode, so it's a long-running tradition that we've got kind of two ways to wrap this up. And
Yes.
the first one of which I'm actually really excited to ask you, because there's a little bit of history to this. So when Jeff Glaze hired me in 2007 to coach MIT, I thought Tim just wanted me to buy uniforms from them. I was coaching at Thomas Worthington at the time. And they took me out to dinner, and Jeff asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up. And hour later, they hired me to coach MIT. So the slogan or the mantra of MIT when I started working with MIT and Fleet Feet at the time was run a marathon, change your life. And we've already talked about, being inclusive of walkers and runners and whatnot. So it was 2012 that I changed the mantra to change your life 1 mile at a time. Fast forward to today, on our one mile at a time podcast. If you could pick any 1 mile of your epic running history, what's the most memorable mile?
Physically, can I have two?
You can have two.
Yes, please have two.
So my physical mile, my favorite mile of all my miles in a race is mile 16 of the St. George Marathon. You're going downhill into something called Snow Canyon, and it is like this tapestry of red rock in front of you, and it is the most gorgeous spot. that I've ever run. To me, that is my 1 mile of physical beauty. And I would be remiss if I wouldn't say that my running moment, whatever mile it was when I did Badwater and I laid down 5 different times in the race and was done. But I got up 5 times. And so that last mile, I know where it was. It was on the entry. You're almost to Lone Pine, California, which is where the race reaches mile 122 before a 13-mile climb up to Mount. And I was probably mile 117, some insignificant mile. But I remember that spot of getting away from that van and getting up and going. And so, those were, it was one was the challenge of being better than I thought I could be. And the other was just beautiful. I mean, there's many, I can remember so many races and places in races and miles, but that mile, those 2 places were great. But I do tell people, since we're talking about miles, I used to have a shirt, I think I got in an expo. It said, the first mile is a liar.
No.
Because it can be either way. It can be really good or it can be really bad.
Yeah.
But,
That's so true.
Don't trust the first mile. Don't base your life on that mile.
Yeah.
Just go for a second.
Yeah, I love that.
You're mentioning stopping 5 times at Badwater reminds me of what has kind of become my favorite mile of all the miles I've run. It's my second year running Erie. I think this was 3 or 4 years ago. It's a 2-loop course to run the full. It's a very fast course. It's a great Boston qualifying course, and that's what I was there to do, was qualify for Boston. I go through, first 10 miles right on pace. I'm clicking along. I'm feeling great. 11, I lose like 10 seconds. Not really worried about it. And that kind of carries on until mile 15, where then I've lost another 45 seconds. And I'm like, this is baloney. And if you've ever run Erie, which I know you have, you can see these little stops along the way where you can see the lake and there's like a bench and it looks so enticing. And at mile 15, I stopped. I tried to take my pin off. I couldn't, or bib off. So I just ripped my singlet off over my head and I walk out and I just walk into the lake, shoes on and everything.
That's awesome.
And then I get a ping on my watch from my wife who says, "The girls are so proud of you. You're doing great."
Here we go.
And I'm in the water and I'm like,
Uh-oh.
I got to keep going. And I walk out of the lake. I put my singlet back on. And meanwhile, there is a beautiful woman just sitting there smiling, watching this all happen in the course of like 3 minutes. And I start walking. I walked the 15th mile and then I started jogging and such, but I finished. And it was all because I knew my girls were proud of me.
What a great story. Oh my
Jeff,
gosh.
was that in 2019?
That was 2019.
That is my impression of Jeff Henderson. I was
forgot about
This is
this.
the first time I saw this man rising out of the lake.
I completely forgot you.
And I was like, I think that might be like the head coach of MIT.
Oh my
And this is,
gosh.
and so I had been a member
I
for a
forgot
year
so
and a half.
Funny.
And I had the worst day ever. And I looked, I was like, that guy's having fun. And that's the moment that I was like, you know what? Because I was going for a PQ that day too.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible day. I was off by an hour. It was so hot. And I saw it and I was like, I think that's Jeff. He got in the water. And then that gave me permission to surrender my goals for the day. And then I ended up running with the gal all the way in. And I will never forget that.
Yeah.
It
I
was
forgot
so
that.
wild.
That's so
that
caught
mile
you and
made
then
an
you
impact
blew me away.
on both of you. Wow, that's
It is
cool.
wild.
That's wild.
So the very last question, this is going to be a silly question. We're just going to have some fun. I am so curious. What is your first meal? Like, what's your celebratory meal after the Columbus Marathon? What do you eat that night? Is it one thing? Do you like celebrate? Do you have a ritual? What do you do?
I don't always get to do it because sometimes the night goes longer.
Yeah.
Like several years ago, when a participant couldn't find her car. She didn't remember where she parked.
No.
So my wife Star and I were downtown until like 8:30, 9 p.m. Riding around. She thought she remembered the Nationwide building. You could see the Nationwide building for like 5 miles. Where is it? We finally found her gone, but it clearly couldn't have dinner. But the goal dinner is we finish up literally don't even go home, wash my hands, and go to El Vaquero.
Yes. Oh, that is a beautiful.
It's
yes.
always just a celebrate. It's celebrating. It's kind of a misnomer because we got to be back down at the start line at 7:30 to pick up trash for several days. But it's always just that moment of everybody made it look safe. Everybody, and so that to me that's actually the victory. My favorite part of the race for me is picking up trash after the race. That having that privilege to do that means everybody went home safe.
I love
Because if I'm worried, I've had to visit people in the hospital. I've had to deal with a lot of other
Wow.
issues. But that is if my only worry is I get to walk around and pick up trash. That means everything's good.
It's really powerful.
I'm so honored to have been part of this. This is really great.
I'm so glad you.
Thank you for
on.
being on.
Thank
being
you.
here with us.
Thank you for what you
You guys are
do.
doing a great job.
Oh, okay.
Well, Darris, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy and hectic weekend.
Yes.
We wish you and your whole team the best of luck. We wish Columbus the best of luck. We will have this episode live here, or live up on the interwebs by Monday or Tuesday. Again, that's at 1mileatime.run. And have a great race.
Yes.
And
Thanks,
we'll
Darris.
see you all on the course.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you so much.
This was cool.
That was awesome.
It's fun.